the idea initially was let's remove phosphorus from their wastewater using the algae system, and it morphed to, hey, what else can we solve? And that's really how this innovation is. It's their idea to say let's test out how it can remove salts from wastewater, and then it was our team's responsibility or role to demonstrate and optimize how you are removing this TDS and how do you make it more effective over time. So it's really kind of a really great give and take relationship with them to advance the technology.
Hey everyone, it's Bob Crossan. I'm the editorial director for the Endeavor Business Media Water Group and the editor-in-chief of Wastewater Digest. I'm joined today by Martin Gross. He is the CEO of GWT, and we're going to be talking about GWT's latest patent for a TDS removal technology. So thank you so much for being here with us, Martin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bob.
So yeah, you guys recently released this press release about this TDS removal technology that you guys work with the MWRD GC, the Chicago Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Could you talk to me a little bit about how does this actually work? What is this revolving biofilm technology and how does it operate within a wastewater treatment system?
Yeah, so the technology is called the revolving algal biofilm system, or we call it the RAB system. And it's a series of vertically oriented conveyor belts where algae attach and grow on the surface of these conveyor belts. And as they grow, they're usually consuming nitrogen and phosphorus from the wastewater. So as algae grows, think of it as a microscopic plant. So you give a cornfield nitrogen and phosphorus to grow a crop. Similar for algae. Algae being a microscopic plant needs nitrogen and phosphorus to grow. So as it's growing, it's actually eating the nitrogen and phosphorus from the wastewater. And that's our core business, to use the RAB system for nitrogen and phosphorus recovery. But what we found through some work we did with MWRD Chicago is that we're also removing other compounds, and these compounds contribute to TDS, or total dissolved solids. So think of salts in wastewater. So we noticed that this was occurring while we were treating nitrogen and phosphorus, and there's some really important regulations and water quality issues related to TDS. So that's really the basis of this most recent patent, is expanding the RAB system's use for not just nitrogen and phosphorus removal, but simultaneously removing this TDS as well.
Yeah. So you guys set out to do nutrient removal and found another application, essentially.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So algae's been known for a long time to be a good system to remove nitrogen, phosphorus. But it's not the only thing it can do, and especially with these new regulations that are coming down the pipe, that there's a lot of value in simultaneous removal of these salts as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about how you discovered that it's doing these other the TDS removal. Could you talk a little bit about some of the results that you've seen thus far with MWRD Chicago, and at what scales have you been able to witness those results so far, and what are kind of the plans there?
Yeah. So, it's actually something that MWRD brought to us. They had some pressure
Oh.
on some TDS removal, or some questions and some concerns, as it's kind of becoming an emerging pollutant of interest to them. And it started with a simple question. What happens naturally on our system for TDS removal while we're treating the water? And those initial results came back positive. We were indeed removing TDS. So at that point, we decided to dig in a little bit further, and actually we ran a number of trials at laboratory scale on these. We have these little mini tabletop systems that we do for high throughput testing. And that work demonstrated removal over multiple different wastewater streams, and effectiveness of the system. And that lab scale results ended up in a publication in Water Research. This was several years ago. And we graduated those results up to a commercial scale system that we had at the O'Brien treatment plant outside of Chicago, and actually demonstrated that this works treating municipal wastewater at a full scale commercial RAB system.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I was very curious to hear where you guys were in that regard, because I know it takes quite a while sometimes to get through each of those testing stages and the different scales of magnitude. So,
Yeah, yeah. This is probably one of the pleasant surprises, as you're doing development work. Sometimes you say, hey, what about this thing? Can you do
hmm
that? And oftentimes it's no, it didn't work, but this time it, pleasantly was effective at the question. And a great partner like MWRD Chicago that's really invested in, improving all sorts of water quality issues and for them to provide the support along the way, it was fantastic and just demonstrated another angle for the technology where it could add value to for projects.
yeah. Well, that's a good segue into one of my other questions, which was like the nature of the relationship that you have with MWRD. It sounds like they also were like assisted with this innovation or the invention of this, and could you talk a little bit about what that relationship is like and kind of like what role you played, what or GWT played, what role MWRD played, and like how this all came to be in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe just even taking one step back, MWRD is why the RAB system is treating wastewater. So our relationship with them, or at least my relationship, goes all the way back to my PhD work at Iowa State University when
Mm,
they came to us and said, "Hey, we like your algae growing system to remove phosphorus from wastewater." And this is probably 2015, 2016
okay.
timeframe, and they actually had the foresight to say, "Hey, Martin and researchers at Iowa State, your system is developed to grow algae for biofuels, which it was
hmm
at that time. Have you ever considered using it to treat wastewater?" And they actually were the ones who pulled us into the wastewater space years and years
mm,
ago. And we had a round of lab scale testing, pilot scale testing, commercial demonstration systems. So we've had this ongoing relationship and really kind of morphing a technology into the wastewater space that wasn't initially designed to go treat wastewater.
hmm
So we've had this really good collaborative working relationship with them. The two major folks that we were doing research over the years with is one of their scientists, Dr. Kuldeep Kumar and Tom Kunitz, are the two individuals that really led the effort on their end. And the idea initially was let's remove phosphorus from their wastewater using the algae system, and it morphed to, hey, what else can we solve? And that's really
hmm
how this innovation is. It's their idea to say let's test out how it can remove salts from wastewater, and then it was our team's responsibility or role to demonstrate and optimize how you are removing this TDS and how do you make it more effective over time. So it's really kind of a really great give and take relationship with them to advance the technology.
Awesome. Well, what's next for you? Obviously, you've done all this demonstration. You have the patent together now. What's next on the chopping block in terms of? I imagine you want to bring this to the wider market, but what does that look like? What's the future look like?
Yeah, at GWT, we're really working hard to bring algae based wastewater treatment, where we can remove nitrogen and phosphorus using less energy, produce an algae biomass that we can make into a fertilizer, soil amendment, biofuel. So our big focus is continue to bring that into the market for nitrogen and phosphorus removal as the primary target, but to continue to advance our understanding of TDS removal. So, we'll continue to sell projects to remove nitrogen and phosphorus, but developing these models where we can actively or accurately predict if you're going to put this type of wastewater in the system, this is how much TDS is removed. There's still some work to be done on that. We know it
hmm
removes it, but actually accurately predicting it is the next step. So then we can go to our customers and they can really feel comfortable that if we say that's going to be 10% TDS removal, that it indeed is
hmm
10%. Especially as these regulations become more common and strict throughout the US.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Martin. I appreciate you taking the time and chatting with us about this. It's a really interesting patent, and I thought it would be really worth talking with you a little bit more about it. And we're excited to see what happens next and where things go for you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
And for everyone who's watching, check out our description below. We'll have some links to other articles about nutrient removal and TDS.